alongside each other, two types of neoliberalism. The Thatcherite, Reaganite, right-wing neoliberalism, and Blairite, Clintonite, left-wing neoliberalism. And their modus operandi are slightly different. In both systems, they don't throw away everything from the previous social democratic system. They build on it. And they get rid of some of the elements of the welfare system, but not all of it. Because the rationality remains the same. Rationality remains the same, and the rationality of accumulation for the sake of accumulation. And also, the subjectivity remains the same in a sense. Education system remains intact, and all other institutions remain intact. That is a new arrangement or a rearrangement of a already existing set of rules in a sense. So he's, I think, exaggerating the break. So disciplinary techniques are still there. Because the thing with disciplinary techniques is, as for example, Foucault has, and among others, Foucault has demonstrated or described, disciplines can be lifted, or external disciplines can be lifted to the extent that those disciplinary rationalities and techniques are internalized. Because even in earlier systems, the main thing is self-discipline, not because because you can't run a system based on repression alone, and especially capitalism. So repression and discipline relies on internalization of self-discipline by a large sector of population. So the power-maintaining system relied on repression, and wasn't just repression, obviously. There was also rewards, etc. as time went by. That was the whole raison d'etre of a welfare system. So factory workers were brutally exploited by factory owners. But then obviously those same factory workers became, especially in the mature capitalism, partners in running the system. And the whole point of the neoliberal system was that the trade unions become too strong vis-a-vis capitals. And the requirements of the accumulation of capital change radically. So that required weakening of trade unions, etc. But also, it wasn't just, they weakened not just from external repression, but they also weakened internally, in the sense that because a lot of workers were able to get basic rights, etc., they were no longer repressed and deprived in a way in which, for example, 19th century and early 20th century workers were. So so capital was able to overwhelm trade unions to a large extent because its workers were no longer deprived anymore, for example. So they were able to side with capital or remain neutral in this struggle. So it's not just repression in the earlier system and no repression in the later system. There's repression in both systems. But repression is needed only to the extent opposition is strong and is directed towards the opposition. We don't need to direct disciplinary repression on the segment of population which has actually internalized it. You know what I mean? Anyway, I think we'll stop here and we'll continue from this, inshallah, in the next session. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa azwajihi wa dhurriyyatihi ajma'in bi rahmatika ya